Hey, Being at Work listeners, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Andrea Butcher, and I'm so excited about this conversation today because we're answering an important question. What happens when everything you've built your identity around, leading teams, chasing growth, climbing the next hill, suddenly disappears? My guest today, Kevin Lingg, knows that feeling well. After more than 20 years in leadership roles, Kevin's life and career took an unexpected turn. He lost his job, and like many of us, he thought the next step was to find another one, a bigger role, a new challenge, another title. But underneath that drive, Kevin says, was a lot of ego, because at the time, he had a cookie business, a small, joyful side venture he couldn't imagine turning into his next chapter. It felt too small, but eventually, he let go of what success was supposed to look like and started asking a different question. What if smaller could actually mean freer? I love that so much. So in this conversation, Kevin is going to share what he's learned about redefining identity, letting go of ego to embrace a simpler, more fulfilling path, applying decades of leadership lessons with the team he has now, himself, and why purpose isn't about scale, it's about alignment. So, Kevin Lingg, welcome to Being at Work.
Hi, Andrea. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I love this so much. I love your whole vibe. Tell our listeners what your day has been like. Because when we jumped on, Kevin's glowing and he's like, well, yeah, and here's why. What have you been doing today?
Yeah. Yeah, not every day's like this, but it is like my favorite kind of day. So I try to have as many of them as I can. And for me, this is what a good day is. So, I got a good amount of sleep last night, 7 to 8 hours, which is pretty normal. I usually can't sleep much more than that. Just not wired to. But got up and ran 5 miles this morning, listened to podcasts, listened to a couple of yours, actually, your daily doses. And then after that, I have some cookie work to do in the kitchen, which I can do around the day when it makes sense for me. So that's the kind of nice thing. And when you said freer, there's some freedom there to when I can go do that. And then had a good lunch and finished up in the kitchen, came back to walk the dog. It's a beautiful day out. And then I just jumped on here with you. And that's what makes all of this great. So it's just all those things are fun things to me.
It sounds like freedom.
It is freedom, and it is worth everything to me.
How did you get to a place where you have days like today that feel so free?
Oh, I think there's a lot of things, but without going into like taking up the entire time of the podcast with one answer, which I could probably do, I think it leads into the first part of what you said when you were introducing me. I'm a lifelong learner, for one thing. And so when I got out of school and went into like my first career job, it was just like, wow, put your head down and just learning. So much to learn, not only with just working with other people and how that works, but just learning how all the things that you learned in school or they don't teach you in school and you got to learn when you're on the job. All of those things are just like it was just so intriguing to me. And I wanted to achieve and then achieve more and do more. And I think part of that's just, I'm a very curious person. So I want to learn how to do something and then I want to do it as excellent as possible. And I want to do it with people in mind. So when you work with people well and you're always learning and growing and trying to do the next thing, I think it just added up to just, it's a strong work ethic. It's a lot of learning. And your employer, when I was working for someone else, good employers, good managers, good bosses, they see that in their people and they know, oh, there's this next thing coming up. And I kind of know who's probably the right person for that if they're interested. And I was always interested in next. So most of the roles I had were within the same company I was working for. And every 18 to 24 months, it was another role with usually an increase in pay, more responsibility, more pay, that sort of thing. I come from kind of a I really do come from more of a scarcity mindset. I had my first child when I was 20 in college, and that was my biggest responsibility, of course. So all financial decisions, things like that, played into a part of, me investing and not being silly with money. And maybe I'm a little bit wired that way too, but I wouldn't call me frugal. I would just say that I'm not a big spender and I don't want for much unless it's something we're all doing together for experiences. And, I got my first house and paid that off in 11 years as quick as I could while still balancing going on a vacation or replacing a couch or whatever we had to do. But we didn't go out and get crazy. So I think investing from the time I got my first job in my 401k at work and then continue to increase that over time, as you know, compound interest just rolls and rolls and it just goes. And I think over a 23-year career of learning, growing, always getting higher responsibility roles that paid more, sometimes bonuses. Those bonuses were split between pay off the debt as fast as possible, invest the rest, or go on vacation. It just adds up, and it put me in a place. I'll just say this: when you mentioned like I lost my job during COVID, I felt like I was already ready to move on.
Had you been thinking about doing that
I started to feel like a little bit of a fish out of water.
before you got let go?
Yeah. Yeah. Like in the corporate world, I think it's just because I was like ready for next, but
Yeah.
there's, golden handcuffs. There are these,
Right.
there's so many incentives and benefits, not just the pay, but just like all the other things, even the leadership development opportunities that you get if you want them, taking on the new role, taking on the next biggest thing. But yeah, I think I started to feel that way a few years before it happened. And I just didn't leave. And my kids had actually already been out of the house, living their own lives. And so during 2020, when a lot of people lost their jobs, when I had to let people go because I was the leader of that division, and then I had to furlough some other people. And then, of course, as we get older, we typically get more expensive, just like I've been talking about. We make more money as we get more experience and get older. In times like that with business and so some businesses, you become the next target of there's someone else that's 10, 15 years, younger than you that is willing to work two jobs for the price of one because of this dire situation like COVID created for a business. It's just business to me. So it's just business. I get it. They have to make that decision. And it had nothing to do with my performance. Actually, it was recently after performance reviews because as you might remember, COVID kind of was the spring of 2020. And so I was let go in May. So we had just had our performance reviews, which were excellent. It's just a business decision that had to be made financially for that business at the time because we lost so much work from clients. And so anyway, I think just investing my entire career and investing more and more as I went, while also not being an overspender and continuing to learn along the way, put me in a position financially that when I actually realized that we were in a place where I didn't have to go back to work for someone else in a job that didn't kind of fulfill me at the time. So my previous 23 years of Kevin set me up for this. And I'm real happy that he did that. I wouldn't say it was intentional. I think it was just, there was no goal, I guess you could say. When I was 22 going into my first job, I didn't think I'm going to be financially independent at 44 years old or 42 years old, and I won't have to go work for anybody. I could do what I want. That was never the plan.
That was never the goal.
Yeah, just like learn, grow, achieve, work with people. This is exciting world, all these things. Go do the next thing that brings you energy. The money comes and you decide what you do with it. And I just happened to put it away and not think about it. And then COVID happened and it was a little freaky because the first time I was out of a job for really 23 years, but then I started networking and learning to meet people. I'm an introvert, so I didn't really have a network in Indianapolis and had to learn to grow one. And that changed me because when, I'm from a small town, so my friends, my family, and my work people are my network, and so when I moved to Indy right before I was let go, I just worked from home or I was traveling. I didn't build a network here. And being an introvert, I don't go out of my way to go meet people. But I started to just get introduced to a few people, and one thing leads to another, and you have one conversation that leads you to another.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the cookie business that you mentioned was just a fun project I wanted to start when I was working at General Electric. It was just like I went and got my master's, and I had this moment where I'm like, I want to start a little something of my own for fun and just see the process, because I'm an operations minded person. I like systems and processes and checklists and rules and guidelines, all those things. And it was like, I want to do this. And I started looking for ideas for a year. And one day I happened to see Bobby Flay making cookies on TV, and he was trying to actually beat these women in New York City that started a bakery called Levain. He wanted to beat them at their own game, and he did not. But their cookies and their story, I have to say, their story was so important that it resonated with me. I'm a triathlete, so I was watching them. They were doing an Ironman training. They owned a bakery. They wanted to make a big cookie that gave them a lot of calories for training. And here's this huge cookie in 2014, before Crumble or anything. It's just this huge cookie that I had never seen anything like it. So we took the kids to New York City for spring break. We tried these cookies. They were awesome. I came home. I'm like, cool. I'm in Centerville, Indiana. So it's like a little town with 2,000 people. There's nothing like this anywhere. And I think I got to make them because I can't buy them. And so I looked for every copycat recipe on the internet, including their own website. At the time, they shared all of the copycat recipes on their own. Because people will say that's like flattery, like somebody wants to copy you. And so for a moment, they had them on there. And I just started digging. I'm a researcher. So like every single one, how do they make these? Why does that person think it's that way and that person think it's that way? And I kind of built a recipe off of the most common denominators from all of the forums I read. And that recipe did not turn out like theirs, because theirs were these big, thick cookies, and mine were like a little flatter, but still nice and thick and chewy, just not like a biscuit like theirs were. But I still took them to my master's class, and my professor was just like, this is it. Why don't you just do this? And food wasn't something I thought about doing. I've never baked before, but she said, these are great. I think you could do this. And so that's kind of what started the idea. And I just went step by step, as slow as you can go. Like, what's the first thing I should do? And I'm reading Fast Company magazine and Inc. magazine, and I'm watching Shark Tank and all these things. And I'm like, I'm going to start just putting a list together and figure out how to do it. And all this time from 2014 to beyond 2020, it was just fun and a side hustle, and was never meant to be any sort of income that I would raise my family with.
Has it turned into that?
Yeah. So I know you mentioned about becoming free. I think once I had gotten let go after COVID, I actually was I was talking to a lot of recruiters, right? Because in my mind, for 23 years of nonstop going and building this career, all the things you learn in 20 plus years about leading people, managing people, just everything. Like you said, identity, it becomes like who you think you are, because it's all you've done as an adult, at least work-wise. So I just went to work trying to find work. My kids are out of the house, and I wasn't really being forced to do this. I still had severance even, but recruiters I was calling, and one said, hey, have you heard of EOS? And I'm like, I have not. Now, I'd read a book called Scaling Up. Some of your audience may know that book.
Yep.
In that book, they talk about the book Traction, which is what EOS is basically what it is, the entrepreneurial operating system, another version of Scaling Up. And I hadn't read the book, but she mentioned it, and she said, there's people in Indianapolis, we need more coaches for EOS. There's small to medium-sized businesses that need this help, and you should call them. And I'm like, all right. My whole career, it's like I was in safety for a while and then operations. So I've stood in front of a lot of people doing a lot of training. So facilitating meetings, training people, that was like in systems and so forth. It's basically what EOS is. And when you think about running a small to medium-sized business or any business, there's a structure you need that's there, whether you have your hands around it or not, it's all there. And so EOS is just one framework, a way to help a person like yourself really get all the components of the business in order and feel like you got your hands around it and a good strategy moving forward. So I really loved it. I started talking to them and they're like, yes, we need more people like you. And again, from a scarcity perspective, I was surprised that they wanted more people because I thought, well, won't I just take work away from the other coaches? And they're like, no, we need more. And the more coaches we have, the bigger the brand grows too. All
Yes.
those things just
Right.
play in. So that was really my first serious introduction to abundant mentality. These people in the EOS world were all, I talked to 14 of them separately. Like I wanted to know what a day in the life was because again, I do research. And I'm like, what's it like to be a coach? And how do you work with clients? How do you get work? Which was the part I didn't enjoy. As soon as I found out I've got to get up every day and go create work, I thought, oh, I have to go talk to a bunch of people I don't know and try to see if I can help them and if they want my help. I just wanted to do the execution part. I wanted to be in the room with you, Andrea, like teaching you.
Going into it.
Yeah, but I don't want to go get the work. There's ways around that too, right? You can have people help you go get the work and you just give them a piece of the work and a piece of the money. And that way I can do what I do best. And anyway, it was fun to think about. I actually read the books and I resonate with it. I actually couldn't believe coming from a corporate world, large corporate companies, I couldn't believe that the book Traction wasn't common knowledge in business.
Right.
Seriously, and that sounds bad. It's just like we're
Because it's
talking.
so common sense.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's all I ever knew. And so I didn't know you could actually run a good business without knowing some of these basic things. But you can actually get pretty damn far without having some of these things in place. And
Yeah.
it's surprising. And we're talking about simple things like having key performance indicators. And we're talking about how do you solve root cause issues in your business, or how do you hire the right people and put the right people in the right seats and have a vision that everyone in the company knows about where you're going, and even just documenting processes.
Yeah.
These are things that actually quite a few companies, including mine, which is only me, so it's just me. But when you start adding people, this becomes really important to do. And so I'm not here to promote EOS, but I am a fractional like integrator. So I help a marketing agency right now with them with their EOS. And I do love it. And I will continue to help anyone that needs help with that because I just love it.
Well, and it's consistent with your systems approach. And you said I'm a researcher.
Yeah.
I suspect you are leading your cookie business with those principles. So definitely it goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Just natural.
But would you say the cookie business is your like primary focus right now?
It is. It is. I'm actually helping the marketing agency because out of all the functions of a business, marketing is my least favorite. And I could probably learn to get okay at it, but I know it's probably not the best use of my time and I don't get energy from that. So,
Yeah.
and sales either, but sales is a little easier when you just bring in a 6-pack of cookies to a meeting and then I don't have to say much. I just give them to them. And then if there's a good reaction, then we know where we're going with that conversation. But marketing is a different thing. And I'm not really creative in that way. I can be creative in other ways, but not that way. So a friend of mine has a marketing agency and he's already implementing EOS. And he was like, I'm a little lost with it. And I'm like, I love it. And you know what I'm lost at is marketing. And he's like, well, let's do this. So we help each other in that way. So now I have nice marketing, really nice marketing. And it's not because I do it.
Well, it's those partnerships are key, like recognizing what doesn't give you energy and aligning with partners who are energized by those things.
True. So like the EOS thing intrigued me for a while, but then I found a job because I couldn't help myself. I couldn't go get work. It just drained me thinking about getting work. So I'm like, nah, I'm comfortable working with someone else and doing the operation stuff. So I did start working for a local Indianapolis venture capital backed startup company and became the VP of ops. During COVID, their business blew up and they got extra money. And so I came in as VP of ops and we really scaled the company. We doubled revenue and tripled the location size across the US in about 18 months. But that last 6 months of the 18 months was 2022. It was kind of a bad year, not only in the markets, but VCs were kind of backing off and they couldn't get any additional money to scale. And it actually led to us shrinking. So A bunch of us got let go. And so this was like the third time in my career being let go. At that time, I was thinking I can't just do the cookies because, like you said, I had said to you, it's just such a small business. It had only been out of my home. It was not meant to be anything bigger than that. And it just, in my head, I just thought, I do bigger things than this. I had done much bigger things than this. And I guess you could say, well, Kevin, you could make this a big thing. Mm-hmm. And that didn't come into my mind. And I don't know that I loved the idea of that journey of going from home baker to something as big as I had already done. So I think it's just head trash. It's just in my head, I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I do bigger things. I just need to go. I know my value because I was paid the value that I felt was fair. That's what I should be making in the world. What I didn't realize is that at the time was that, I don't have to go do that. I don't need to make that kind of money anymore. My kids are raised and out of the home and doing their own thing, and we're in just a good place. So actually, as I let this sort of happen, I let the cookie business sort of grow. And I went to the next step of finding a kitchen I could work out of. And I went to another client came in, and I'm a wholesaler. So another wholesale, and that's recurring revenue. It's pretty much every week I am taking cookies to these places, and it's just orders. It isn't like I have to go out and get a new client every day. And I don't like the retail side because I got to have hours with the doors unlocked and someone working. I'm a wholesaler. So I basically control my time in that way, which I like.
And you've built it that way.
Yeah, because I just knew I'm a risk averse person. Signing a lease and then knowing I have to make so many cookie sales a month to pay rent is not something I was comfortable with.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, how can I do that without it? And so these one step at a time, you just look for how to do it. And I'm just learning as I go, but wholesale seemed to be, you give and take with that. But I just thought wholesaling is better for me. So I'm 90% wholesale right now. And I do get private orders and private parties, weddings, things like that just come up because of customers that buy my cookies from other places. But I don't really promote that too much. I like this routine, and I can work the rest of my life around it. So I work about 20 hours a week doing cookies, unless it's like crazy season, like Christmas coming up. But for the most part, it probably averages around that. And then the rest of the time I can, do all the things to work on my own physical health, mental health, those sort of things. And I still have a fun cookie business that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, you said earlier that it was a fun project that has now morphed into a business. But what I love so much about this story is it is also reframing what work is. And it's creating a life for you that allows for the freedom. So it's reframing smallness from limitation to liberation in a lot of ways. You said, and it was your own head trash that you had to work through.
Yeah.
How did you do that? What was that process like? And was there a moment when the script flipped and you realized, oh my gosh, this could be great for me?
I can't remember that moment specifically. I just know that I had kept this going since 2014 and it just built from this very small thing. And I kept it that way. I liked it as a creative outlet. My kind of creativity was making cookies, not marketing. But yeah, when I went to work for that local VC-backed company and then that didn't work out, I think I just at that moment was like, I just don't think I want to go back and work for anyone else. Because for me, it was the third time in my life that happened, right? COVID was the second. That venture capital situation, it's out of your control. It's not because you're not a great worker or excellent at what you do. I mean, I try to be excellent at everything I do, but it's just something that's out of your control. And so I try to do as many things as I can control, but I realize that there's only so many things I control. But I don't control if the business, in that last case, it was like the market was bad. Like the outside environment was bad for business at the moment, especially that business and the model it had. And it came down to some other strategy things that weren't my responsibility in the business. Like I was in operations. This was more of maybe a front end issue that didn't get solved. And so I'm let go because of the business. That's something not in my control. And
thank goodness you were let go. I mean, it like, as I zoom out and look at your story, it all feels so fortuitous that those things happened. That
It was. I think I just had it. I needed that amount of time. I needed those things to happen for
Yeah.
me to realize that one, my previous time had set myself up financially to be okay
Right. You had done the work. Right.
with taking a chance of not needing to go make that old salary to survive,
Right.
that we could live our lifestyle just fine by just letting this cookie business, trying to grow this cookie business even a little bit, not more than just me, myself. I'm not really planning to make it bigger than me. My wife will volunteer a couple hours a week to help me on my big day. I'm doing some other things throughout the week, but on the one day where I'm baking typically about 800 to 900 cookies that morning, her and a friend will give me a couple hours of their time just to help. And that's it. The rest of it is me, and I like that. I'm a control freak when it comes to this stuff. I I admit that. But I think that's why I didn't want to put my hands back into someone else's control as far as being an employee working for someone where I could just be, things go wrong, I'm gonna go again.
It's on your terms now.
That's a better way to put it. Thank you.
So, what advice would you give to the person listening to this who is in that corporate role and has had the same nudges that you said you had for years, feeling like a fish out of water? Because if you had not have lost your job, I mean, you could still be in a corporate role. Life forced your hand in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that now. It's hard for me to think, go. If that didn't happen in 2020, would I still be there? I don't know, right? We don't. I know that this is what I really enjoy doing right now. If we want to talk about seasons of life, I worked really hard, put my head down and raised my family and went to school and continued to get educated and all of those things during that time. I'll always continue to educate myself, but it's just different now. And
Yeah.
this really works right now for me and my wife. This cookie business she's got her own business as well. She's a dog walker, so she walks almost all the dogs in our neighborhood. So we both love being self-employed. We both love the control of our calendar. And I don't know that that's not really for everyone. So I know when you ask me like, what advice would I give? I think I am the kind of person that doesn't just jump off the cliff and figure out how to build the airplane on the way down. I am a planner. And I know those plans can change, as they say. Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And that's true. We've had to pivot. We've had to change some things. They didn't end up the way we thought. But I started this as a little thing. And I keep saying the word little. And my wife tells me, quit calling it little. And she's right, because the things we tell ourselves become the thing.
Yep.
And she knows I started this to where I didn't want to put any risk on our family. It was more like, it's all going to be bootstrapped. It's all going to be one step at a time. I've got a great job, a great career, and that's the main thing. And this was just my little fun side thing.
Fun project.
And I built it a little bit at a time, if you want to say, in the kitchen, just a little bit at a time. And then I got a client, and then I was helping them, and then that turned into another client. And it still didn't affect my family in any negative way or our finances or anything. I never wanted it to affect those things. So I'm happy with the way I approached starting this side hustle in a way that did not provide any real risk to my family when I was raising my kids or our financial future. And that was important to me. Signing a lease, buying equipment, all of those things before I was ready would have probably put me in a scarier position. So I just did it one little thing at a time. And then when I was ready for the next, I would go jump into that water and try it out and get my hands around it. And time didn't matter. If it took me 6 months or a year, I would do it. And then I'd be like, the next thing and the next thing. So the way I did it was less risky. And I would suggest that to anyone that has an idea or thought about something they might want to try, is just go try a little bit at a time and see if you get energy from it, and see if you like doing it, and see if you get response from, potential customers. But that's just me. There's others that are like, no way, you got to just jump. Some entrepreneurs, and even ones I've worked with, are just like, they just aren't wired that way, and that's fine for them, and they're successful in their own ways. But I had to go with how I'm wired, and I'm wired this way.
That feels like great advice for anyone that is feeling like a fish out of water. What is one small thing that you can do, a step you can take and see if it gives you energy? Like test it, experiment with it. That's why I love it that you called it a fun project. It takes the pressure off.
Yep.
Like you were just experimenting. Why not?
Yep. You're
And
right.
you know what? We have gone 30 minutes without talking about loaded dough. Like if people are thinking, I know people are listening to this thinking, where can I get these cookies? What's the name of this cookie business? Loaded dough. And you can order, because I looked at your website. You can order online. I'm going to order some cookies because I gotta try these cookies.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a wholesaler, so anybody listening that's in the Indianapolis area, mainly the northern Indianapolis area. I started out at, well, let's just say while I was still working pre-COVID, my neighbor who owned his own gym downtown, he's like, hey, can I get 34 4-packs to give as gifts to my clients in my gym? And I thought that was brilliant considering they got to come work it off now. So he got a way to get him back in the gym after the new year.
That's genius.
I didn't have a client here yet, and I'd been here for 4 months and not really tried. But my neighbor was like, I'll take these for the clients. And one of his clients owned a butcher shop in Broad Ripple, and that's Kincaid's Meat Market. It's been around for over 100 years, I think. Anyway, the guy was like, hey, man, these cookies were great. I think they would be great right next to the cash register, point of sale now. We call it, not cash. Anyway, he's like, would you want to sell them here? And I'm like, sure, let's come down and talk about it. And so that's my way of doing sales. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I sold them to a neighbor because it's not scary for me to go talk to my neighbor. And then it just built from there. Kincaid's opened a second location, and then they knew the people at Giacomo. So then I was in Giacomo, and then I did go get a couple of these on my own. I got the courage to take some cookies to like Moody's and ask if they'd be willing to sell cookies here. But half of my clients came to me because they had them somewhere else and wanted to sell them in their place. And the other half, I dropped cookies off and talked to them, and then they turned into clients. So anyway, there's some coffee shops and butcher shops and even IMAX downtown. When they have big movies, I sell them at IMAX too. So it's been fun to see how this works, because I like, how's this work? And I've enjoyed it the whole time.
That's so great. They look amazing. I'm looking on the website right now.
Mm-hmm.
I love the funfetti.
Oh yeah. The reason for loaded dough as a name is because, well, originally I was going to sell dough, and I had made dough because I wasn't going to bake them for people and do all that. And I had given some dough out to some friends with instructions on how to bake them. And they were just, I burned them or whatever. And I'm just like, oh. And again, me being the control freak I am, and excellence matters. I want this to be one of the best cookies you've ever had. I don't want to say like the best, because that's hard. Even if you ask me, what's the best pizza, which is one of my favorite foods, you can't. It's like, no. I can give you my 4 or 5 favorites. I won't give you one because there's different styles, but I want it to be one of the best cookies you've ever had. And I expect it to be, or I expect you to come and tell me it wasn't, and I'll make it up to you. But I chose Loaded Dough as a name because I thought it rolled pretty well off the tongue as a cool name. But you see these chocolate chip cookies around sometimes, and they're just like, where's the chocolate? Like, where's the beef? For those that are as old as me, where's the beef? But I just could not get enough chocolate out of a cookie, and these just little specks of chocolate, and I wanted more. So the ratio was not that good. And I'm looking at the chocolate chip cookie package, and to make a batch of cookies, it was like, use these 12 ounces. And I'm like, well, no, I'm going to use 18. I'm going to add 50% more. And it didn't mess up how the cookie came out, and it injected more in there. So pretty much every cookie I make is usually about 50% more toppings inside it than the average cookie. And that's why I called it Loaded Dough.
Loaded. Mm-hmm.
I like those loaded ice creams. So I'm like, I'm going to call it Loaded Dough.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting, that people are interested by your business, right? I mean, you get that.
Andrea, I'm telling you, like, if I went to meet you for coffee and we hadn't met, and you said, so what do you do? I would say, oh, well, I'm a fractional integrator for EOS. So I help people with the operations side of their business using this framework. And then I also have a cookie business, and it's over. Like all we're going to talk about is cookies the rest of the time. And I'll usually bring a couple with me.
Uh-huh.
And that has led to, I didn't mean it to, I'm just bringing a couple cookies. And then sometimes that leads to, my friend's got a coffee shop, so can you talk to them about selling them there? It's happened before. But it just gets the word out. I guess that's a form of marketing, but it's also not meant to be as much as it is. I just want to bring you what I do.
And it's also such a cool story that this was a fun project that you just decided to try and look at where it's led.
Yeah.
Another way to reframe smallness. There's nothing small about that.
Yeah. It's been a really fun chapter of my life, that's for sure. And, I don't know what the future will be with it. I'm really not trying to scale it bigger than it is. I like it as a lifestyle business right now that works around the rest of my life. And so that's not natural for people. I know there might be some people on here, it's totally fine. I think most people just automatically think you're supposed to grow more, more. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as it works with your life.
Yeah.
But, I've worked 70, 80 hours, not sustained, but obviously, in my normal corporate life, 50 to 60 was not unusual and sometimes more. And I didn't mind it because I like accomplishing things and working with people. And if somebody needed to call me at 8 o'clock at night, I'd do it. But this has been such a cool change to what the rest of my career was. And I'm glad that I took a chance to kind of let it go the next step and the next step and the next step. And who knows, at this moment, I would say I'm not trying to make it any bigger than it is. I don't really want to manage employees anymore. I like that it's just me. I've had a couple of contractors and that's fine. That's good. But to really scale, it would take really, I don't really want to hand it over to a co-packer because, me and my control issues. And I like doing the work. Yeah, I do all these cookies by hand myself, and I like it. And I get to listen to my podcasts and learn things about business and life. And at the same time, you had mentioned ego, and I think that was the head trash piece where I thought I just had always done bigger things, and it's okay that I don't continue to do that. I feel like I did contribute a lot, and I did the best I could while I was doing that thing. And now I'm contributing to the world in a different way, or at least Northern Indianapolis in a different way. And it's still, I love seeing people enjoy the cookies, and that just makes me feel good that they enjoy something that I made. There's so many cookies you could go buy, and some people choose to buy mine, and that feels cool.
And the way in which you're redefining it, maybe this is the biggest thing you've ever done. I mean, who's to say? It's the most interesting. It's the most aligned with the life you want to create right now. It's perfect for you.
Thank you. I've been reading books with my son. He's 26, and he's, I bought him some books at Christmas and he wasn't reading them. And I was like, you need to read these books. Most of them were financial books around how to just get started investing and managing money and getting out of debt and all those things, just trying to help make sure he's set up in case I'm not here, when I'm not here someday. And so we read through these books, and we're reading certain chapters every week. We meet up for lunch and we talk about our takeaways from those books. And, the one we're reading now, there was a chapter on purpose. And, he looked at me and he said, he's 26, and he's like, I don't know my purpose. I can't figure it out. And I'm like, you're being way too hard on yourself here. And something that I've learned is, I can say that my identity or my purpose was my work, and it was the work that I did in corporate world. But I think what I've learned is my purpose is my purpose. And to me, I told him, it's to be a great father. It's to be a great husband. It's to be a good person and provide more of a positive to this world than a negative, to do good deeds. Those are the things that I consider my purpose. And I think when he heard that, he realized it didn't have to be as big as Elon Musk taking people to Mars, but people can get really hung up on that. It can be so big, but when you just bring it down to, I just want to be a good brother, a good father, a good dog owner, because he's got a dog. Your job is to be responsible for her and make sure she has a good life. And that's a big purpose for you to keep. So for me, another purpose is just to make excellent cookies for my clients and make their day. So it was a great conversation with him. And I think it helped him realize that he didn't need to be stuck on that or be so hard on himself. And I think that's true for all of us. There's many things that we can do that give us fulfillment. And I found many of them, and I'm loving that. And I'm going to keep it up.
I'm so glad that you are. My purpose is my purpose.
That's right. It's theirs.
It's theirs. Yeah. And you get to decide.
That's right. Just like success. What's success to you? It's not others. It's just you.
And you get to choose as you are. Thank you for being such an inspiration and modeling that for our listeners and for our world. If the listeners of this show want to connect with you, where's the best place to find you?
Oh, I would say, obviously they can go to loadeddough.com if they want to see what the business looks like on the website, and you can order on there. You can reach out to me on there. I think my cell phone number is even on there, so you could text me. But I also am on LinkedIn. Just my own personal page on LinkedIn is another way to reach out or DM me. So there's a couple ways to find me.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Andrea. This is awesome. And you are such an amazing host.
Well, you make it easy.
Thank you.
Go make those cookies.
Will do.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Let's connect to go a bit deeper. How can I help you? Looking for an executive coach, a facilitator for a team or leader engagement, or a high energy, heartfelt speaker? Learn more and connect with me through our website at abundantempowerment.com. I look forward to co-creating something magical with you.